Hey, ever wanted to experience what it's like to play with the Headhunter but you just can't afford it? Well, there are cheaper solutions. Of course, it's not gonna be the same experience, but you can still get similar effects. So this build is kind of weird. It's, as you can see, I barely have 4000 HP, but it actually is very tanky against elemental damage. And I am stealing buffs from enemies, from rare enemies. And this works especially well for ultimatums. However, this build is not really super endgame. I was doing tier 6, well, actually mostly tier 11 and tier 12 maps and farming ultimatums and just in general farming. But you're not really gonna be killing endgame bosses with this. I haven't actually tried much. I did try like Eradicator. I can face tank Eradicator because, like I said, this build is very good against tanking elemental damage and heals. So you can actually stand on like barriers and survive pretty well. You can also take volatile death in your face and survive most of the time. Probably not in tier 16 maps. And the build is around 5 exalts, maybe a bit more. It depends on what kind of what you want this build to be able to do. So how to simulate Headhunter effect. So imagine this: if Headhunter is a new brand Ferrari, then Inspired Landing Jewel is like a cheap fake Chinese knockoff Ferrari, and then there's a Lada with a Ferrari sticker, and that is the mod on the Warlord's Claw. When you kill a rare monster, you get up to 40% chance to gain one of its modifier for 10 seconds. So Inspired Landing guarantees on kill to steal one buff for 20 seconds. I actually had Headhunter, I think it's for 20 seconds and steals multiple buffs or maybe all. And then the Claw is chance to steal and only for 10 seconds. So, I mean, no one is playing with that modifier. It's kind of forgotten modifier. Some people don't even know that it exists. It also exists on the Elder's Claw, and it's only on the Claw. Elder's Claw, I believe, rolls up to 20% chance to steal. Unfortunately, this buff has nothing like special. It does not refresh duration of previous buffs. If you steal one buff and then steal another buff 9 seconds later, the first buff is gonna expire after 1 second, and you're only gonna have one buff. So in most of the clips when doing Ultimatum, you're gonna see I have like up to 20 stacks that last for 20 seconds. That is from the Inspired Landing, and then 2 or 3 buffs from the Claw. So I guess in conclusion, the Claw mod is not needed, and it's actually pretty hard to get that mod on a good Claw. This Claw has 345 DPS, but there's no reliable way of crafting that mod because the mod does not have a tag. So you essentially just have to spam either spam hairs or use other crafting methods to roll good damage mods, and then hope that you also hit that mod. I would say even you don't want it. Instead, you would want a more damaging Claw. Basically, just slap Inspired Landing on pretty much any build, and you essentially have the similar experience to Headhunter. However, you still want to be fast, you still want to have enough damage, and you still want to survive. So, in addition to using this bad Claw and Inspired Landing, this build is also using Replica Abyssus. Kind of cool how 4000 HP build, I can still survive very well. And this is all thanks because of the PhD shield, as we call it. Why it's PhD? Because it has so many things, but we only need to pay attention to one thing: Divine Flesh, nothing else. Nothing else really matters on this one. Or at least you should not be too concerned about anything else. Divine Flesh, you can get Divine Flesh on a Timeless Jewel, but we want another Timeless node. So Divine Flesh, 50% of elemental damage taken as heals, and then you get 5% to maximum heals resistance. So then we get Tempered by War. This is pretty well known synergy. Tempered by War, essentially 50% of cold and lightning damage taken as fire damage. So when you combine this shield with Tempered by War, you do not take any cold or lightning damage. You only need fire and heals resistance, and that's it. That's all you need to worry about the shield. This build has a lot, I believe 170,000 effective HP against elemental and heals damage, but only around 45 to 50,000 effective HP against physical hits. the physical damage is what's killing me. You could improve it quite a bit if you get a better body armor or a certain corruption on the shield, which would be pretty hard to get and expensive. And also you could level up a bit more, get like endurance charges. But then again, it's actually quite hard to get enough damage with claws. Maybe that's why no one are playing with claws. And the only claw builds that exist are with the Hand of Wisdom and Action and Instacker. Claws maybe are not in a good spot, and I also wanted to especially experiment with this claw modifier, maybe to bring some attention to that mod, and maybe to remind GG that maybe they forgot about this mod, maybe they should do something about this mod. Now I thought, how could this mod be improved? And balance wise, I'm not too sure, but it would be interesting if this claw would refresh duration of previous gained stolen buffs. So this would function in a bit different way. If it would refresh duration of previous gained buffs, you could stack a lot more. The 10-second duration wouldn't be as bad, and the low chance to steal also wouldn't be as bad, because like every third rare enemy you would steal one buff, and then if you manage to kill a next one in 10 seconds, you would refresh all the previous buffs duration, and maybe that way, but that could also be too strong. But yeah, in general I think the claw is not too great, and it's not really worth trying to get that mod. Hey, I'm Woolfio from the future. I always forget to mention this. If you enjoy these kind of meta and unusual builds, be sure to subscribe, because I'm basically only doing these kind of weird builds. So back to the video. Now I'm gonna talk about what else I have on this build. But like I said, this is around 5 Exiles build. However, I do have Tailwind Boots, but the only thing that you get from Tailwind Boots is more movement speed. And this is Raider, so yeah, you are already fast, so you don't really need Tailwind Boots. You are also getting attack speed, but it's not a big issue. You can actually get different boosts with physical damage, gain physical damage as extra cold or lighting or fire, I believe, and you would still get a pretty decent chunk of damage. And you would probably want to go with the maybe pure physical claws, because I'm using Wild Strike, so it does convert all physical damage into random elemental damage. Also using Trinity, which is very nice and gives a lot of damage. And yeah, I don't really have any other expensive items. So the claw, this is what I got. How to craft this claw? Like I said, you can't really focus on crafting that mod because it does not have a tag. So I just tried spamming hairs, tried spamming fossils, tried spamming essences, and then eventually on the last essence that had flat fire damage, I hit this mod. That's what I ended up with. The body armor, I wanted +1 curse because nothing else really gave me much damage, and I wanted initially I was planning on using self-core stem chain ring, this ring, and extending the duration of those buffs, but it's not really worth it. The claw mod 10-second duration would be extended to like 12-13 seconds. That's really not worth it. I do extend other buffs duration with this Solstice Vigil. Shaper's presence does give similar effect to self-core stem chain, causes effect on you and nearby allies to expire 20% slower. This helps a bit. It also has some damage, some life, and attributes which I needed. Otherwise, on the body armor, I don't know what else you could go for. Body armor, maybe attack crit chance, but that doesn't really give all that much because I have like 90% crit chance, and I am still using, because of Solstice Vigil, I am using Temporal Chain with Blasphemy. So I still wanted Assassin's Mark because Assassin's Mark just gives so much damage. That's why I went with the +1 curse body armor. If you're going with this shield mod, you basically want fire resistance and chaos res, and then big life and +1 curse. You can also, if you get lucky, roll physical damage taken as chaos. That would be amazing for this build. Helmet Replica Abyssus, increased elemental damage taken basically doesn't really do much to me because I have so much mitigation. Even with this helmet, like I said, I have around 170,000 effective HP against elemental hits, 180,000. The shield, if you actually, this corruption on the shield is pretty cheap, so may as well get that. It's like 25C. Rings, now rings, you want damage, but you also want life and heals rest, and ideally you would want to also craft minimum frenzy charges. Tailwind boots, like I said, are not needed. You can get other boots with some damage. Gloves with +1 strike targets is also not needed because I am still using Ancestral Call while mapping, especially for ultimatums. The +1 strike nearby targets is only useful when I swap gems and don't have Ancestral Call, and it just helps a bit against bosses, especially if you also got the Hydrosphere. The build station-wise, big life, strength. I needed strength and int, especially on this build. Basically strength, life, haste rest, and then if you can, elemental damage for attack skills. Jewels, I actually just said, yeah, I don't need more life, so I got quad damage jewels, and in fact I have so much crit multiplier that getting more critical strike multiplier isn't really giving me as much damage as getting more flare damage. So triple flare damage jewel like this, plus attack speed if you have crit recently, gives so much damage to this build. Actually, I'm now thinking that I should have made this build with more jewel sockets and stacked jewels like that. And other than that, Inspired Learning goes in here. You need 4 notables allocated. So I picked this just to get an extra notable. And it also gives chance to evade, so it works well. Lethal Pride, Rakiata goes in here, and then you get Tempered by War. It doesn't matter what else it gives. If you get lucky, it could give you something nice on this one, but mine doesn't. I went with only 1 anti-venom. You basically want anti-venom because of haste rest. This one is also with increased effect, so each small node, instead of granting 12 haste rest, it grants 15 haste rest. And then the last one grants 23. Now, support gems and other skills. So the main links are Wild Strike, Fortify, Multi-Strike, Night Blade, Ancestral Call, and Trinity. And I do swap Ancestral Call to elemental damage of attacks. In the helmet I have Culling Strike linked with Hydrosphere and cast on damage taken, and on a separate socket I have Herald of Ice. In the claw I have Skitterbots linked with Unbound Ailments and Precision. So Unbound Ailments actually boost the shock effect and chill effect on enemies. So enemies are actually being slowed down by the Skitterbots, and they are being slowed down by the Temporal Chain. So I have Blasphemy with Temp Chain. Assassin's Mark I have to cast manually. In boots I have Anomalous Dash, NA Dash with Second Wind, and then I do have Steel Skin, which helps a bit. And in the shield I got Val Ancestral War Chief, Ancestral Protector, and Multi-Totems. By the way, the anointment on Amulet gives so much damage, it's kind of insane. This one, 50% increase effect of buffs granted by your active Ancestral Totems. So when you got Val Ancestral War Chief and Ancestral Protector, you got so much attack speed and damage from this. It's twice more damage than any other anointment would give you. I tried to plan in many different ways, with more life, with more damage. Actually, it was kind of hard to squeeze out more damage. You could actually go with the Frenzy Charge generation, and but losing exposure and losing dodge is pretty big deal. I don't know if I would go with that. Getting enough strength and intelligence was a bit challenging. And you may have to pick up more strength and intelligence, and then later refund if you can get decent items with attributes. Like this belt has a lot of strength. These clothes have just enough intelligence to be able to equip the claw. Yeah, and the body armor also has strength, which helps, and the helmet also does have strength. But if you don't have enough strength for helmet, for example, you basically equip some amulet like Astramentis. Use like Astramentis, and then you can equip the helmet and then replace the amulet, and it will account those all attributes from the helmet. So that's one quick trick. So that's pretty much it. I haven't really planned a new build yet. I don't know what. I may actually still continue playing this build for another day or half day and then plan a new build. So for now, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.